States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open public comments for agenda items only. If you have any comment for the agenda items, please stand and state your name. You have 3 minutes.
I do, Lewis Balance, Eastern Avenue, 8A. Wondering when the city is gonna get the, contractors in, or the, National Guard in to clean up those, eastern, southern, and, little Black River watershed from the storm. While we have the help here, and while we can get the stuff done for nothing, which the city likes grants and everything like that. So I would suggest that we utilize the help that is here now, and what we can get done to clean up those all those down trees from the in those drains. That would be great. Other than that, we need the street department to start taking the trash out of those ditches, especially on Eastern Avenue. You got bins that are broken. You have trash cans that are in there. A lot of other things that will clog up those ditches from that storm. Other than that, that's it.
Okay. No further public comments. I will close that and move on to 5. Approval of agenda and receive and file all communications.
So moved. I will second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Mills, second by Councilwoman Dodd to approve the agenda and receive and file all communications. Is there any other comments on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We have 6, approval of prior meeting minutes from April 8th, 2025.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the prior minutes of April 8th.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilman Martin, second by Councilman Ormsby to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of April 8th, 2025 as presented. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstained.
Okay. Motion passed. We're moving on to 7, departments, boards, and commissions. A, we have the police department, the fire department report, and the Office of Emergency Management quarterly report. Does anybody want to comment on any of those?
Looks like there's a few more miles put on the vehicles in 2025.
Yeah.
Shows you they're doing the job like they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that, Chief?
No.
Okay, thanks. All right, if nothing else, then I will move on to 8A, general business. We have the storm cleanup update discussion.
Ready? First of all, I wanted to thank again, and I did this at the last meeting, I wanted to thank DPW under the direction of Nate Howell. He was handling the storm cleanup and all the crews that were out there. I want to thank Parks and Rec Department, Scott Hancock and Martha. They did a fantastic job. Not only did they work on the park, but they were out, some of the crew was chipping brush. We did buy them, so you all know, chainsaws, trained them, and made sure they had the proper safety training, so they were out there with chainsaws. Eric was our mechanic. He was out there running a chipping crew, and then he even came in early to make sure all the equipment that was going in and out of our garage was properly greased and maintained. Then he would go out and start chipping. So I think we owe him a lot of gratitude. Chief Daly did a fantastic job, him and his crew. The volunteer fire department was excellent. Chief Reifenberg's here at this meeting, where he wasn't at the last meeting. His crew did a fabulous job. His expertise from down in Grand Rapids was you know, invaluable throughout this whole process, because he's been there, he's done it. So he provided a lot of great leadership to some of the other department heads who really weren't used to some of this types of situations. So Wilkinson Excavation, we hired them. They did a fantastic job, stepped up, said, let us know what you need. Kurt and Carol Blaskowski, same thing. They brought in a chipper and a truck and a crew. They were out there. Scotty Ornsby and his crew. We talked a little bit earlier about the cemetery. They were out there, I think, for 5 or 6 days straight, trying to clean that up. And not only were they out there, but at one point we had some of the guard out there with some chainsaws trying to help. Scott Hancock and his crew were out on a Saturday trying to open up so people could get in there. I think we've really took care of a lot of things quickly. And then also Dodge Tree Service had 2 crews at various times out there working for us, whether trimming the hanging branches or helping us get rid of some of the brush. Also wanted to thank Paul Shoneth. He has a giant mound of brush right there behind the Historic Center that he allowed us to put there. Hopefully we got the time and resources to get rid of it. Otherwise, I think I may have issues with my cars in the near future. It was very nice of him to do that. Didn't say, hey, look, just said, hey, go ahead. So we do appreciate that. Our crews have been through the entire city at least once, some areas 2, 3, 4 times. Yes, there is still some brush out there, but you know, again, we're starting to run out of room over here. The rec center, we did chip and haul some of that. Our dump out on Eastern, we did have the one where people drop stuff off is completely full. We had a dozer in there by the National Guard that helped us push some of that back, but as soon as we opened it up, people filled it back up again. So we've got a big problem that we got to deal with. We got a lot of brush, and it was a problem before this storm. We collect brush. Most cities don't anymore. Most cities charge. We take it out there, we put it out there, and we just kind of keep pushing it back. But at some point, it's going to be a problem. Now it is a problem. So that's one thing that I'll probably come back to you with some potential solutions in the future to say, okay, how are we going to deal with this? I mentioned the 2 piles. Also, the parks are in pretty good shape. Yes, we know there are some trees that we have marked. If you go around and see an X on a tree, it's usually an orange or red, it means that tree's got to come down. If it's got a circle on it, it means there's a dangerous branch of some sort that we got to get taken care of. All right? So with that being said, we still got a lot of work to do. We've done a fantastic job, but we've got a lot of work to do. I've been working on the paperwork to file with FEMA and state to get reimbursed for our expenses. I promised you, I asked you in both for about $150,000. I'm still under that right now, but all I did is really the first phase of our cleanup. You know, we got 2nd, 3rd, and 4th phases. That's when it gets expensive. I did put those all together and put them into what's initial proposal to FEMA, and I'm asking somewhere between $750,000 and $900,000. To bring in a large-scale chipper to address some of those brush piles, you're looking at $5,000 a day. You know, there's other ones that are, you know, they're $16,000 for a week, but then you got to pay for the crew and you got to have somebody help load. So I figured all this out, and I'm pretty comfortable to say what I'm putting in the FEMA. I'm hoping we'll get back. If we don't, then we can put it in the state, and they'll allow us to get up to $250,000. But again, we've made it. I think we can cover that $150,000 through the budgetary process. But after that, things are going to get difficult. We're going to have to try to figure out solutions. As I mentioned earlier, we probably have at least 100 trees that need to be removed in the city. There's quite a few out in the cemetery. We also have probably a few hundred that are severely damaged, that we will need significant trimming on those. I mentioned earlier what we requested from FEMA. We stopped using contractors. We will stop using contractors after tomorrow. Okay, and that's where I'm feeling comfortable, like where I'm like, okay, I gotta stop here before we go any further. Let's see what happens with FEMA and the state. We did have initially guard help Guard will not work on private property, so any of the ditches and stuff that's along the road, some of that's private property, they can't do it. The crews that we were utilizing them at first, they were okay at the cemetery, but not their mission, so they can't be on anything that's private property, they can't do. So picking up brush out of the street, they're okay, but picking up out of people's yards, no, they can't do. So using them to do anything else is not really a possibility. We really only had help, Chief, the first day, 2 days?
2 days, and we got extra help. The cemetery help came from the group that was gonna work the Blackwater River shed. But if you remember during that time, we had snow and ice, and it was too slippery for them to get down into the banks and work in those areas, so their commander said you couldn't do that. They were looking for work, so we put them to work out there, in the cemetery.
And
And
so
we kept them for about a day and a half, and then their commanders came up here, assessed the city, and said, we're only here to make sure the streets are open for emergency vehicles and the residents can get around. Your city's good, and they left.
So when people saw the guards here, they were here for a very short period of time. By the time they drove in from Grayling, got set up to work, and then had to turn around, shut down work, and head back to Grayling, it was very limited. So everything you see that's happened was either by our contractors or our employees that did it. So I think very little was done by other parties. The ditches, we did send a gentleman out with our mini excavator that we bought, and they did go along and make sure that the ditches were flowing. Yes, there's debris in a lot of the ditches, but that's not a priority right now. We just need to make sure that those are flowing, and they're flowing all right. So right now, that'll be addressed later on, probably during the summer once it dries out. Hard to, work and clean out ditches when it's full with water. It's easier when it's dry. You can scrape stuff out. You can see what you're trying to get out. So some of that'll be done later on. But any questions by council? I don't want to open up the floor. I just want to make sure that if council has any questions of me, that I can answer them.
Just to clarify, if we get the money from FEMA, then we can't get it from the state, or we could get both?
I'll say I don't know. Initially, we thought we'd only get it from the state.
Mm-hmm.
Then if FEMA gets involved, we get it from FEMA, and I think, I'm thinking from my experience, that if we get money from FEMA, the state will close their purse.
Okay.
But if we get that FEMA money, I put in for all the phases. Not only get reimbursed from our phase 1,
Mm-hmm.
which is over tomorrow,
Yeah.
but phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4.
Okay.
And some of that includes, ditches. We had one of the buildings at the cemetery took a direct hit from a couple branches that went through the roof. So there's things like that we put in that FEMA. So then we'll be able to clean up. But we have to stop. And I know other communities, such as the county and stuff, they've gotten to the point too where they're like, okay, we got to stop because we can't keep rolling unless we know that aid's coming in. If that aid's coming in, then we can keep going. But if it doesn't come in, then we can go after the 250, which should cover most of our expenses, but it's still gonna leave us at a huge lurch to try to finish phase 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Dan, I have a question. You go.
Are they gonna do more cleanups in the neighborhood?
Yes.
And then you said something about a $5,000 an hour price tag for a wood chipper?
It is on the back of a semi-truck. You can literally take giant trees and drop them in it all at once. So it's the drum is, it's probably as big as your car, that drum. And when you put stuff in there, was it GFL? They have one, and it's in Alpena right now.
And that's something the city probably can't afford by our own.
You guys know me, I already looked into see if I could buy a new one, about $1 million. Used ones, about $500,000 if you can find one, and usually those there are pretty well tore up. So, because that's one of the solutions, as we look forward and we keep taking brush, we would need a piece of equipment similar to that to have out on Eastern that we can chip the brush, because right now we're just pushing it back, and around here, you push some logs together, it takes a while for them to decompose. So that's one of the solutions we're starting to look at.
If that's if you go chipper route, can we take and sell and work out a deal with, say, a woods product company to sell the chips or even to get rid of them so we don't get plugged up again?
GFL, if you go through them, I think their chipper was $15,000 a year. But then you have to pay them to haul it away. The other guy, he'll come in at $5,000 a day and he takes all the chips. He uses them for mulch. But he thinks he could get it done in a couple of weeks, where GFL gave us a longer time frame. So we gotta get into this further discussions with them. I got staff that's reaching out to both these companies to kind of figure out what's our best avenue.
What I'm getting at is, a company that hauls wood chips to Grayling, that hauls it from the, chips it and hauls it. If we can possibly find, might be beneficial, maybe, okay, but if we could find somebody like that that would be willing to, set their trailer and then haul it and sell it, even if we just got rid of it, it would be a.
That's why the guy with the chipper, he's out of Wolverine. He comes up, he sets up here, he chips it, he takes it back to his place because he makes mulch out of it, or he sells it or whatever. So that's kind of, we're on the same wavelength there. Now, yeah, we want to get rid of it, but the problem is anything we have over there at Eastern, that's we still got to figure that out. So I don't know if we can rent him and have him set up over here, then move it over there and then take care of some of that. I don't know. We just got to figure out what we can afford at $5 grand a day.
And also,
or 15,000 a week.
Also check with them when you're working with them, because they for wood chips, for what you're talking, they don't normally like pine.
We got our problem is we got a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah, but the thing is that we got that, but also they don't, pine, they don't, it doesn't process right. I guess if you want to say it that way.
Anything else? Okay. All right, you all set, Dan?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're gonna move on to 8B, budget and capital budget discussion.
Buddy,
Huh?
pass them around.
Wait me up in the morning.
Before you guys start, just let's focus on the first page, okay? I know every time I give handouts, people jump to the second and third page, and then we all kind of get confused. The first page, what you see, that's what was in last year's capital budget, okay? So I just went on the spreadsheet, I copied that, dropped that in there for you so you can see it. So if we start at the top, if you want to cross things out as we go, that would be fine. We purchased the mini excavator. We did the front end loader. We bought the dump truck. We bought the brush tripper, which came in extreme handy. We didn't buy a bucket truck, but remember we bought a teleloader. So that one's completed. We did get the 2 DPW pickup trucks. On other, I think this was money that was going to be used for another project. We didn't do anything with that. The next one, municipal roads. I know we used some of that money to do some match on another project. Lincoln Street sandblasting, we tabled that. By the way, we are in the process of putting that into Representative Bergman's office to see if we can get a grant to sandblast the bridge and repaint it so that you never have to worry about it again. Don't know how we'll be successful. It's very competitive, but again, that's something that we try to get. Local street project funds, again, one of the projects we did, I don't know if it was Ball Bailey or which one, concession stand in major city park. Tomorrow, and they say tomorrow, but I'm hoping tomorrow, they're gonna be starting to put the block up, and that building should be finished here in a couple months. So we'll be able to strike that as be completed. The 5 fishing piers, the plans were at DNR. They were reviewed. There's some changes being made, so we should know soon, and that should go out to bid, and that construction should start this fall on that. Washington Park Boardwalk, we did not replace the boardwalk like we hoped to. Instead, we did fix some of the boards. What we're doing there is we're waiting because remember that coastal Great Lakes resiliency group? I didn't want to replace the boardwalk and then come back in, maybe a year later and tear it out. So we put that on hold. Various park equipment replacement, we have $10,000 of new equipment. If you go down, and I'm pointing at Haley because I know she's down there all the time, because she calls me and said, this is what's wrong, or this needs to be fixed. Where we took out that ugly equipment, we do got a play set coming for, I'll say kids under the age of 10 years old.
You talk about Gordon Park?
Yeah, Gordon Turner Park. Yeah, so that'll be going in there. We only spent 10 this year, and you'll see in the next page where, next couple of pages where I'm asking more. Bathroom upgrade was completed, and then roof at the wastewater treatment plant, we got a grant from the State Land Bank, that's completed. Our system upgrades for our water treatment plant, that was completed. Water pickup truck, completed. Ottawa land, that was a DDA function, but I think it should have been Ottawa. I think it was supposed to be Festival Square. Fire turnout gear, we purchased that. We've been making payments on that, so that's completed. Chief has ordered, and I believe I signed for the firearms. So those will be coming, hopefully, some are here and some will be coming. Speed enforcement trailer, we did not do that. Replacement of body cams, you guys voted on that, so that's completed. Police car computers and servers, we got a quote for the server, which about gave me chief a stroke. But that will be completed. And then the last thing, which was not completed, and I don't know why I took that off, is the chemical hazard equipment. So what we proposed and what we did as a team, all of us, if you look, a majority was completed, okay? That was a very ambitious capital budget. We've upgraded equipment that was let go for 30+ years, and we undertook that in a year. Next year's capital budget would be on the second page. We want to upgrade the computers for the police cars. Chief has been working with his staff very diligently on getting us concrete numbers for this, and then when we get to it, the next page. Tailgate lift, this allows our DPW, if there's something heavy, they can lower it, they put on the tailgate, lift it up and put it in. It's great when we're dealing with meters, pipes, things like that. A blade on the GMC pickup truck, one of the new ones we bought, we figured, hey, we might as well put a blade on it, so if there's a snowstorm, either somebody from DPW or Eric or whatever can jump in it, maybe plow city parking lots and help out. A laser blaster, this thing's, I don't know how to describe it, it's kind of like a Star Wars type thing. Normally when you've got a piece of metal or something in an old truck, you use a sandblaster. And it produces, there's a lot of dust and everything else, and it's pretty, there's a new thing that came out, it's actually a laser, and it looks like almost a handheld scanner at Walmart. And you just go down the truck like this, and then you just keep going back and forth, and it takes the paint rust right off. Eric bought 2 frames for pickup for 2 of our dump trucks that are bad, so he's going to redo them. So if we get him this, it'll probably cut his time in half in terms of sandblasting and things like that. So before we buy it, he's going to go try it out at a couple places. It looks great on different videos, but we're a little cautious. Lift station pumps, our pumps are getting old. We want to replace some of those. Plus, we also want to have in a couple of the buildings some strategic reserves. So if that pump goes, we don't have to say, oh man, the pump's gone, we got to order one or send somebody. We got another one right in the building, we take it out, put one back in, and it's working again. All right, so we're trying to be proactive. Garfield project, that's both grant and fund balance. I think $250,000 of the grant, The rest will come out of the street funds to do that. Dump trailer, the Parks and Rec has a regular trailer, so during this storm, they're loading stuff up, then they gotta hand unload it. If we have a dump trailer, they can load it, back up, hit the button, boom, and it's out. I think, and no offense, after this, I think we owe them this. So, storm-related thing, what we want is a bucket for the front end loader. Basically, they call it a thumb. So you scoop, and the thumb comes down and grabs stuff, which will help us, when we got these big piles of brush, we can scoop, we can grab it, pull it out, but right now, all we can do is scoop. So that'll go on our new front end loader that we just bought.
I saw one of those being used. Is that belongs to somebody else?
It was probably one of our contractors that was doing it.
Yeah, it was just a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's a nice option to have, especially if you're picking up big trees or whatever. I think it's Wilkinson's. I think that's who we were using. This last, we had a conference call in here on a number of things. A number of conference calls, and our system's horrible. So I think this is one of the things that we really need to do. When we have the auditor up there, he says it's hard to hear you guys. We had a couple meetings on grants. We had a meeting with a state representative. It's just not cutting it. So I put 20 grand. I don't know if it's that much, but that's one of the things I'd like to upgrade, and I think you would all agree. I'd like to do something because when the auditors present, I can't see that, and I definitely can't see that. And anybody back in there, like where the chief's at or whatever, they can't pick that out. So let's bring somebody in. Let's have them design us a good system so that it'll be better for all of us. And I did not add on that. I forgot, and I was waiting for a number. The last thing is the salt barn that we have. It's collapsing. We restore all our road salt. We've got a bid for $160,000. It is a My Deals thing, so we can buy it right through there. We don't even have to bid it out. We're going to use those big concrete blocks that you see around the cement plant to use as the foundation, and then the structure sits on top of it. Or if we want to spend an extra $160,000, we can have everything poured. And I think we all agreed, Jason, myself, and Don, that we would just put it on the concrete blocks for right now. Okay? So much scaled back compared to what it was, but now we're getting back to where we should have been years ago if everybody was doing this right. Okay? The last page is we are going to create a new capital fund that's solely for police and fire. And what this fund's going to allow us to do is, like we all promised, we're going to start saving for things. Kind of a novel concept, but I think we should do it. All right? So what you see in front of you was put together by the chief, both chiefs and myself, to say, okay, what are our major capital expenditures that we have for police and fire? And this is a list of those, okay? So the fund number 475, I know Diane's gonna say, I don't recognize that one. Well, it hasn't been created yet. That'll be created this year. So what'll happen is money will come in from the police and fire levy. Right now it goes into 205, right now, and it stays there, okay? What it'll do is it'll come into 205, and then every year we'll make a transfer out of that fund to 475 to start saving. And we're going to use this spreadsheet. So, for example, firearms, I just mentioned, we just spent them. We just bought them, okay? So, but the project cost, Chief and I figured in a few years, probably $25,000 total. That's for rifles, pistols, and all the accessories. If we set $2,000 aside every year, we'll have some money to use for the pistols and rifles, and then we expect the next purchase to be fiscal year 30, 31, and then for the rifles, 35, 36. Make sense? And what we're doing is that set aside, the column that's blank, every year we update that. So when it comes to budgeting time, you all will be able to look and say, okay, how much have we saved for firearms? Same thing with vehicle radars. How much have we saved for vehicle radars? It also gives us a good estimate of what's their useful life and when we anticipate in replacing them. Now, if you notice, as you get down towards the bottom, you start to see question marks in that fiscal year of purchase. Well, if you look, you got an aerial fire truck, and again, everything that Don gave me was used equipment, not new, used. And even with that number, pretty steep. But, you know, Don's guessing on something, well, I think I got 10 years, well, I think I got 5 years, I think, you know, again, he's giving us an estimate. But even if you figure out my numbers, you're gonna say, Dan, the math doesn't work, you're not gonna, no. On those items, we'll never save enough to completely pay cash. We may have to borrow, we may have to move money from the general fund, or whatever. But this is what we promised the public we would do. And buddy, I know you've had people question it. This will be the document that'll be included, not only with the capital budget, but this will be included every time we do a budget. Every year we do this, we'll have this, and we'll update that set-aside column. Now, there may be times where, yeah, we weren't planning on replacing one of the police vehicles, but the engine blew, so we may have to alter it. But this will at least show the public, we are putting the money aside, so I don't have to hear about, oh, I'm embezzling money, and I'm, you know, doing this, and I'm doing that, and everything else. It's right here. Nice, clear document that, you know, anybody can see and clearly understand what that money in that account is pledged for. Now, there may be times where we may say, well, we put this much aside for a purchase of a vehicle, but they decided, well, the server went out, the computer server went out. Well, we may have to shift money out of one of these categories here into that, all right? Because all you'll see is that number in that 475 that says you have $550,000 in that. Somebody can say, well, you got plenty of money in there, why aren't you spending it? Well, no, you can then pick out the sheet and say, that 550,000, here it is. This is what it's being saved for. All right? Comments?
Also, if you have something that unexpectedly happens and breaks down in the fire or police category, hopefully for most of them things, by having this, it's gonna help us to have the funds to pay for it when we need to do it, if it's not on this list and something secondary happens.
I agree. And then, so you know, as part of the police and fire levy, I've almost got it down to, you see down there the bottom number, we're gonna put away about $287,000 a year for this. It's quite a bit of money. Chief and I, and we brought up before that we would like to bring on, one of our goals is to bring on another officer. I'm trying to balance this, the 205 fund, and this fund, and our general fund, to see if I can make it happen. I'm close. I won't say I got it, and it's a slam dunk. I told Chief, I said, I'm getting close. I think with moving some numbers, cutting some areas, I might be able to add another officer, so we could have one more police officer. And that's needed because when the chief sends somebody to training or two guys to training, then it messes up the whole schedule. And so it'd be nice to have that extra officer aboard. So I'm just letting you know that we're close, but I gotta fine tune it. And I have a meeting tomorrow, I believe at 1 o'clock, with Rachel of Raymond Group to go over this a little bit more, because she runs all the debt service and how much loan payments are and things along that line, helps me look at some personnel costs. So we're in a good position. I think this is a huge step forward to be able to start doing this. And I don't know, I can't even tell you when's the last time or if we've ever done something this, lack of a better term, progressive. But I know all of you guys have pushed me to make sure that we're getting this. But if we're charging the residents, we gotta start saving. Otherwise, we keep going on this roller coaster ride of, oh, we need a ton of money because, we need a new fire truck, okay. No, all right, no, if we can do this, it should help smooth things out so there's less fluctuations in our finances. So, yes, we have spent a lot of money, but we had to because we never did. We let our equipment get out of condition, and guns out of condition, and you know, roads out of condition and wastewater treatment plants. We're starting to turn that corner and really starting to come back aggressive, so.
I have a question. So with the audio video upgrade City Hall, wasn't there a chance that we're not gonna be here in this building? Or is that still?
I think one of the things, I think we're gonna be here, and that's another whole other ballgame we can get into. But I think one of the things is to make the system portable.
Okay.
So if it is something, we move the location, or we decide to go to our building down there, then that system would be able to go with us. Nothing too permanent, I guess would be the right word.
Right,
Okay.
large percentage of it
Yeah,
at least.
but I mean, you know, those TVs, I mean, you increase, I mean, now you get them,
Well, they're pretty outdated.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And one more question. This actually is a question for the chief. The firearms that you're getting, I read an article that the firearms may be misfiring. Did you read that article?
Which fireman?
The new firearms. I can't find the article, but.
I can tell you which ones, if I can, give me a second.
We're just.
Okay.
doing this.
Apparently there's a police union boss that said that. I don't know if you're aware of that. WGNT, it was actually an article. But anyways,
It's not Union Brothers.
No.
I'll
It's
look for
not.
the article. But we'll talk separately, but that's actually a question I have though, whether they misfire or not. What do you do with the old firearms?
The old fire, it's traded,
Okay.
to the company that we're purchasing the new ones. So there's an opportunity for the officers to buy them back through the company, at that cost plus more. So they can make some on that, but, yep, it's all the trading.
Okay.
Right, you got a question?
I did. Dan, I think I already know the answer to this. Back to the fire and police capital fund. Are your set aside numbers calculated based on a continued 5 mil levy?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, we will have to continue that levy, and that would be, what is it, a May or June activity.
Right?
We have to put out the notice and stuff. But yeah, we're basing it on the current rate, and my suggestion is to stay with that current rate for at least this next coming year, because we really haven't had a full year with it. So I kind of want to see how it comes out, and then we can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I didn't know where else you would get the money, so I figured that's
Yes,
where
that's
it's
a good
coming.
question, sorry about that.
Any other questions about this? Okay. All right, thank you very much. And now it's your turn again, for the city manager's report.
As I mentioned earlier, concession stand is supposed to start this week. We're gonna get the block in, hopefully done. We already put in a draw for $48,115 to the county. Remember, we got a $100,000 grant from them to help pay for that complex. We may have to put a little bit of extra money in to do a couple things that I think changes to it to make it a little bit better and a little more durable in terms of changing the quality of the doors and windows and things like that. Cheboygan hydro lawsuit, we were, as I told you before, we were dismissed from the lawsuit because we haven't acted on anything yet. Cheboygan Commons was also dismissed from that lawsuit. So right now it's the Hydro, Cheboygan Hydro, and the current owners of the property. Right now is, I don't even know if they were dismissed yet, I don't know that. So you know, we turned that over to our insurance company. They represented us, they provided us an attorney out Alpena. Our insurance company is Tokyo Marine. The initial legal cost that came out of our pocket right now is $180. So not bad, you know, so you don't know what's gonna happen with that, but the good thing is it's behind us.
So the ownership still is not determined?
Yeah, I don't know any of that, yeah. ADA report for the Opera House, I think you all got one in an email. Its estimated cost for ADA upgrades, and that's for the Opera House and City Hall, is about $1.9 million. As I mentioned in there, that's in addition to the structural issues that we have of about $12 million. There is some overlap in some of that, but I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap.
Nothing significant,
But one of the things we need to do is, we need to start looking at that ADA report and start to try to address, some of the more simplistic issues, to start making progress on, at least getting some of that taken care of.
Can we not be grandfathered in?
You know,
Taking it,
they took that away, that's all, yeah, you and I will talk about that one
Okay.
later.
Dan, didn't the Opera House get a grant for ADA?
They did get $250,000 to make the stage and a couple other things accessible. So that's a conversation that Owen and I need to have to see if there's anything in here and our costs match up with this, because I don't think he's bid anything out yet.
Okay.
Okay? 225 North Main Street, Johnson's Studio. I don't think you were the only one maybe still on council at that time, right?
Possibly.
About 3.5 years ago, and I say 3.5 because the brownfield plan for that project was approved prior to me getting here. And my first meeting here, former city manager Tom Eustace had on the agenda for an Oprah for that. They were given a 12-year, 100% Oprah, and they were given a 13-year brownfield. And the Oprah goes for the first 12, and then for the next 13 is the brownfield. So I did talk to a number of council people. By law, if it wasn't acted on within 2 years, you guys have the right to revisit that, whether you revoke it, whether you revise it, whether you ask them to do. So it's my understanding from a few of you, and I'm just bringing it up now, that I will bring that before you guys again, so we can revisit. The only bad thing is, it does require, one requires 30-day notice to the owner that we're gonna do that. So it may hold them up a little bit, but I think they've been planning on this for like 3.5 years, so I think it's something we need to look at. New employees, our new officer, Ethan Webster, starts on Monday. He is, we brought him in, he's gonna get trained and up and going before Ron Wright retires. We also have a new front desk person, many of you met her already, Natalie Sims. She replaced Cindy Cannon. We hated to see Cindy go, but Natalie brings a high level of intensity, a good skill set, and I think she's getting along great with our team. So, zoning code master plan meeting. Tomorrow there's a meeting. Look at Dave.
I'll be there, 3 to 5.
All right. We're making great progress on the zoning code. We're decreasing the number of zoning districts. Me as a seasoned zoning type person, sometimes I'm like, somebody will say, what's the difference between this district and this, B3 and B4? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I gotta read it. I think we have way too many zoning districts, so we're gonna simplify that, and we've already started that process. And we're trying to make it more user-friendly. Because somebody will come in and say, Dan, it says this here. I said, yeah, did you look on this page or that page, and it says this, this, and that. Does it conflict? Yes, a lot of places it does conflict. There's times where I can read it and say, I have no clue what it's saying. And I've been doing, I was a zoning inspector for 15 years. And I used to write these things. So if I struggle, somebody picking it up off the shelf trying to do a project, they're gonna trip on it. So we're gonna try to make it as easy as possible. We're reviewing the zoning map to make sure it's accurate. Over the years, it wasn't updated. So somebody comes in and gets a rezoning through you guys, instead of it being changed on the map, it's not changed on the map. So we're going back and checking all the rezoning and everything. And then we're trying to make it looks, and I say our map looks like a bag of Skittles exploded on it. There's just random stuff all over. So we're trying to make it make sense. Where, okay, there's certain sections that should be zoned this. You shouldn't have a parcel here zone this and then another parcel over here zone. That's what's called spot zoning. You don't want that, it's illegal. So we're gonna try to straighten all that out. So there may be a lot of knocking on doors and talking to property owners saying, hey, we're gonna change your zoning from this to that. Are you okay with that? So,
As far as, you said B3, B4, I'm assuming that.
We're gonna go from-
Clarify that a little bit. I'm assuming you can't change someone unless they are okay with it from business.
We're
to
going,
residential.
yeah, we're gonna have to do that, we're gonna have to have a conversation, but ultimately, if we do away with this district, you're just gonna move into the other one. Because there's
Okay.
really not a lot of difference, because there's a B1, 2, 3, and 4, and there's not a lot of difference. So one of them,
Right.
usually how you have it is, one would be downtown type business, and one would be a neighborhood business, and the other one would be
I guess
your
I'm just
Walmart
asking,
type
if they're in a
business.
business district, it makes sense, we do away with B3, they become B something else.
B4 or B2 or
Yeah,
whatever it is, yeah.
okay,
For example, you get out towards Walmart, we even had an office district, why? You know, it's permitted, you know, so, like out at Walmart, you'll have all Bs within a stone's throw. You'll have one here, 2 different ones in between it. Well, why? It doesn't make sense.
Sure.
So that's what we're gonna try to we're in the process of straightening that out. I think, did Holly put one of these on your?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. For the public, April 29th, 6 PM, council chambers. We're looking for input on our project with the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. The DDA, the city, Tip of the Mid Watershed Council, we're all partnering together. We all want to meet, get people's input on what they would like to see down on Water Street, Washington Park. So encourage people to come. This is their time to let us know before we get too far along. Wednesday, I did not attend in person, but there was a meeting in Gaylord on last Wednesday. Eagle, DNR, NEMCOG, County, City, we were all in attendance, and it was all about the Cheboygan Commons project, and more specifically, not just their project, but more specifically those buildings and some of the issues, whether it be the dam or the condition or the environmental. So we were all in one room together. I think Jeff Lawson and I called in because we had FEMA obligations that we had to get done. But we were on the call. It was a good meeting. We have all expressed our concerns about the property. We're exploring options to address the issues. I know also, I forgot to mention, the land bank was on that call, and there was also an attorney on that call too. So we're gonna be meeting again here in the near future to discuss what to do. There was a fire today on South D Street. There was a good bit of damage. We're fortunate, there was a mother and a couple kids there. Mom got out with some minor injuries, and so did one of the children. But overall, it turned out well. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. So, and again, the fire department did a great job. They managed to put it out quickly, and they also prevented that fire from jumping to adjacent structures. So again, we have a very fantastic fire department that can take care of that. Otherwise, it could have been a lot worse. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay. City clerk, nothing? Okay. I'll open public comments. If you have a public comment, please stand, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Dara Olson, just kind of wanted to, I know you guys have been really busy with the cleanup after the storm, but just bringing attention again to a meeting with Inverness Township for the sewers, hoping that that will happen sooner than later. Also, about a month ago at a meeting, it was mentioned about residents having to do something with their homes, I believe, if they were not looking good, and that they may be presented with something to have to get them fixed. So I just want to, after I reviewed the meeting on YouTube, and I thought it was interesting because I hope that when you come into our town, and what is pretty much the first thing we see is the paper company and the mess that we have. So I hope you guys will have hearts for the people that may be struggling with putting their homes together and keeping them the way that they should, as you want us to have for these costs. So, thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Close public comments. Do I have any committee updates?
Just a point of interest is there's a grant available at the county, so I'm gonna apply for emergency management, and it's to buy generators. It's a grant for $72,000, and, the generators are gonna be 5,000 watt generators. They're not gonna be, like one or two big ones that service one or two things. And, so then like another emergency like this or any kind, the generators are needed. There'll be some, I think, they didn't even divide it out for a price. It's like $2,000 a generators, what they had put down, so divided in, so they'll have a fair amount of generators that can be used for emergency management.
All right, thank you. Committee updates?
Housing was canceled.
Okay. All right, meeting is adjourned then.